Brethren, welcome to this week's edition of the Thank Goodness It's Friday video blog. Coming up, we have two interviews for you. The first is with a young lad called Josh, who has been waiting 12 months to be able to join us. And the other is with David Alexander, one of our current Assistant Provincial Grandmasters, who leaves office this coming April. But first, a roundup of the news. Last night, Graham Chisnall held this month's edition of the Virtual Lodge of Instruction. Like last month, we had a good number of members who were able to join us, in fact, just over 80. The next Virtual Lodge of Instruction will be next month. Also launched this week is the third Provincial Grand Challenge. If you enter, and you have all received an email, you could win £50 to go towards the 2025 festival in your name. Before we move on, here is an advert from the comms team. As you know, the world of electronic media is growing exponentially, and therefore we need, quite simply, more people to be able to help us. So if you have any skills around IT, web design, editorial, social media, photography, being able to write news stories, or being a cartoonist or a graphic artist, we would love to be able to hear from you. Please email me on the following email address below. But first, the interview with Josh. Josh, tell us your story so far.
So about a year ago, I approached the lodge to join Freemasonry with the help of two current members. And well, due to lockdown, my progression in that is slowed down dramatically. I wouldn't say that it's been hindering, because I've still been able to come to certain meetings and have a laugh with everyone that I'll soon be able to call brother. I'm just looking forward to actually getting in when I can, when COVID is finally over.
Brilliant. When you say meetings, they've been the Zoom meetings that the lodge holds,
Yeah.
and it sort of we've had various types of there's been various types of Zoom meetings. Have you enjoyed them?
Oh, thoroughly. There's it's always a laugh. It's always a joke. Of course, there are serious moments, but I feel that I'm included in those rather than just seem like I'm sat on the sidelines, because I haven't technically been initiated yet. So everyone still includes me as if I'm already in, kind of thing, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. So how long have you been waiting for now, Josh?
Over a year.
Well,
Over a year. Well, I went to a ladies' night a year ago when I went to go and see what the lodge was like and everything else. And then on that year, sometime in August, was when we had our first proper Zoom meeting as such. And that was my interview, and I've been waiting ever since.
well, fantastic. You're obviously very keen and enthusiastic. And for this interview, I can see that you're getting into the spirit of it. You've got your black tie on and your black suit, but there's also something pinned to your left breast. Would you like to tell people what it is?
Yeah. This is my festival jewel that I wear proudly. Even though I'm not in yet, I'm still able to do the charitable work that's kind of drawn me into Freemasonry in the first place, so which I'm quite glad. And as a token, I got a festival jewel.
That's absolutely superb, and yeah, definitely the way to go. So, just tell us a little bit about yourself. How old are you? Are you married?
I'm 25 currently. I'm engaged. I will be married hopefully next year. Hopefully. Um, I work here for Her Majesty's Prison Service. I've done that for 2 years now so far. I'm thoroughly enjoying that. Before that, I was working for one of the current Masons in my lodge, in Dershirland Lodge, and it was through him that I've really grown some interest into joining Freemasonry.
Yeah, well done. You said that you were enjoying the charity side. Is that what drew you to Freemasonry, or was it something else?
It was partly the charity work. Absolutely love being able to do something for my community as well as people that are outside the community. It's a feeling that you can't beat. You know, you can't buy that kind of feeling. You have to, well, do something for your community. You know, and then at the same time, watching my old boss, who I now consider a good friend of mine, he always talks about how it's camaraderie. It's something that you can go and speak to with people, like-minded people, and just, you know, have a good time. You know.
Brilliant. So obviously, as soon as lockdown is finished, you'll be initiated, whether that'll be 1 month's time, 6 months' time, or whenever we're able to meet.
Yeah.
So are you going to carry on doing what you're doing until you can actually get your feet under the table?
Yeah. So as until I can be initiated, I'll still come to as many meetings as I'm allowed to go, as far as meetings go, as such. And I will still try and contribute as much as I can to any charity work that we do. During Christmas, we did a raffle, should I say, sorry, for charity, which I heard has turned out quite well. I played for that. Unfortunately, I didn't win anything, but oh well.
So Joss, I also understand that you've agreed to take on a particular role within the lodge. Would you like to tell us what that one is?
Yeah. So at the minute, I would like to, and eventually when it comes through, I'll be able to do the social media side of our lodge and just kind of get our word, get our story out to not only our community on the Isle of Sheppey, but as well as like further outreach. Maybe potentially get some more brothers in if we can. If that, well, that would be the great end result. But even still, being able to tell our story in a way that people don't follow the stigma that masonry had beforehand would be great.
Josh, that's absolutely fantastic, and thank you ever so much for your time. I shall look forward to seeing your progress and hopefully sharing in all your good times with you. So thank you ever so much, Josh, and we'll see you
Thank
again
you.
and we'll see you again in the future.
Thank you.
And that was Josh, who cannot wait to be initiated. At the other end of the spectrum, we have David Alexander. So let's hear from David. Brethren, we are here with David Alexander, the current Assistant Provincial Grand Master, or one of four. And he is hanging up his boots shortly in April. And it's a good opportunity to be able to have a bit of a fireside chat with him. David, the office of Assistant Provincial Grand Master is only a 4-year tenure. This April, you will be standing down, having completed your 4 years. Have you enjoyed it?
Well, can I just say, first of all, Richard, it's very nice of you to invite me along to the vlog this morning. And in answer to your questions, absolutely. It's a tremendous honour and privilege to have been given such an appointment, and it has been a source of great pleasure during those 4 years.
Great. Are you sad to be handing over the reins?
Absolutely not. and if that response sounds at variance to my previous response, then it really is recognition of the fact that every organization, every successful organization needs to have new people coming in with fresh ideas. And so it's time to let someone else be that motivating force.
I don't know this particular question, David. We haven't scripted, so I'm going to catch you cold with this one. I think it's a fair question to ask: is being an APGM, Is it hard work or is it easy work?
It is the most rewarding work, but it is full on, without a doubt.
Yeah, so after 4 years, I think it's probably fair to say as well, the rest is probably welcomed.
Yes, yes, I would agree with that. You know, it's been a tremendously rewarding period of time, and I like to believe that we've achieved a great deal in that time. And so, yeah, hand over to someone else and to take it all, the ideas forward.
Okay, so what have been the highlights for you for being an assistant provincial Grand Master?
Highlights. I suppose the major highlight within the brief itself is working with people who share a similar vision and are like-minded, who believe that it is the right of every Freemason to be stimulated, to have their interest aroused, to feel engaged with what's going on, to be informed, and feel supported. And so I've been very fortunate in having a great team working with me on that particular mission, in the form of John Baker, Duncan Rouse, Mark Costello, variously, Dennis Fordham, Richard Eastwood, and of course our wonderful education officer, Graham Chisnell. Hope I've mentioned everybody, but they really have been a source of unswerving support.
Great. I mean, it's been great fun working with you, David, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But what are you going to miss?
Well, in actual fact, just before we go on to that, we mentioned within the brief, but in the greater responsibilities of being an APGM, it's been absolutely wonderful to consume copious amounts of tea and biscuits whilst out visiting the homes of those who are due to receive their long service certificates, and to talk about their life and achievements, to have represented the province at the presentation awards at the Masonic Fishing Charity, but also to have attended meetings when there is a new Mason there, and to formally welcome him into the organisation, and to have a quiet and relaxed beer with him afterwards outside of the meeting. So, sorry, to go back to your question, which was, what will I miss?
Well, what are you going to miss? But I think you probably covered that one quite well.
I think I probably have.
So, but no, I mean, we're certainly going to miss you, David, for your wisdom and your integrity and your support to everybody. But you mentioned in your narrative about actually you find it very interesting to listen to people's life story. So guess what the next question is? What's yours? Please tell everyone a little bit about your background and what made you join Freemasonry.
Oh dear, on the spot, eh? Well, in actual fact, I had always greatly admired the organisation from a very young age. When I learned that Freemasons had been instrumental in supporting my father, my father and his mother, who had lost their husband and father when he was aged 12. And they'd done a tremendous amount of work in supporting them. And I thought, this has got to be an organisation worth joining. Being a career soldier, of course, it was always rather a challenge to become a Freemason, moving around every 6 months to 2 years. By the time any lodge had got to know you and could feed in an initiation, then sadly often it was time to move on. However, this was resolved when I had a posting to Cyprus, and I became an initiate in the Lord Kitchener Lodge, number 3402, in the district of Cyprus. This was in 1976. And so, yeah, progress inevitably moving around was disjointed. My progression through the progressive officers often was difficult and disjointed. But there again, the experience I gained by being part of 2 overseas district grand lodges, i.e. Cyprus and the Eastern Archipelago, as well as being members of 4 other provinces. Well, I think that more than more than a payback.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting fact that I didn't actually know about you, David. The fact that you were initiated into a lodge in Cyprus, so that's actually quite interesting. But of course, as an APGM in the Masonic province of East Kent, part of your portfolio is or was education. So what has been the main challenges?
Well, it's true that part of my portfolio has been responsibility for education, and you may reasonably be forgiven for thinking that was just another of those elements of my portfolio. In actual fact, nothing could be further from the truth. Firstly, it's important to remember that in the province of East Kent, we have a long history and tradition of supporting and developing members and for promoting a greater understanding of the organisation. My early tentative steps in this particular area were 30 years ago, when I was privileged and allowed to present Tommies. Tommies, he said, what on earth are they? Well, they're topics of Masonic interest, and really, in essence, were the forerunner of what today would be referred to as nuggets. So yes, that's how my early interest in personal development came about. Subsequently, I was privileged to work for the information team, eventually running the provincial website, which also was a development in the way that members were looked after and supported. And this really culminated in the creation of the members portal, which is specifically a member-only portal for East Kent Freemasons, and aims to provide all the support necessary, whatever your stage in Freemasonry. Be you a brand new initiate, be you curious, be you an officer progressing through the ranks and taking responsibility within your lodge or chapter, be you a recently appointed Grand Officer, or even, dare I say, be you a recently appointed member of the executive. On that particular website, there are materials to support you at all stages in your career.
Great, fantastic. I know that you put an awful lot of hard work into that element of your portfolio, and I'm sure there are many people who have benefited, including me. So thank you. But if you were to have your time again, is there anything that you would do differently?
Do you know what, Richard? It never ceases to amaze the precision of the benefit of hindsight. We're all members, we're all products of time and circumstance, and what is right at a particular time and is a suitable development is just that, right at the particular time. But there are always developments in technology which are going to mean that things can be improved. And I think probably this pandemic. This recent pandemic has proved that particular issue, that technology has allowed us to meet in a variety of different ways and to enjoy our company and to continue our learning in Freemasonry. And so, we tried a variety of things. We've had the Provincial Preceptors podcasts. We've had little videos on YP2. And so I guess as I step down, I would hope that I've laid the foundations for someone else to come along and drive it forward and use technology and different ideas to get across the message about personal development.
Great. So what you're saying then, David, is that you've done the Frank Sinatra. You've had a few regrets, but too few to mention.
Perhaps that would sound a little immodest, but yeah, we'll go with that, Richard.
Okay. So now cast your mind back to all those many, many years ago when you had a conversation with the then Provincial Grand Master, who invited you to consider accepting the position of one of his assistant Provincial Grand Masters. Can you remember how that felt at that time?
Amazement. I'm thinking, my goodness me, what have I done to deserve this particular honour? I have to say that having been involved with DCing for 5 years and then subsequently as the Provincial Secretary for 3 years, I could reasonably have expected that my career had come to an end, but I was absolutely thrilled to be offered this further opportunity.
Brilliant. So very happy memories. But talking about happy memories, and you've mentioned a few already, but you must have had many, many wonderful moments and fond memories. Can you recall one or two for us?
Oh, fond memories. Do you know what, Richard? I think that the memories which are most fond in my mind are the privilege and enjoyment I have gained from working with people, to have had the support of a great friend and personal mentor in the name of Peter Bruchhoeft, other supporters and mentors, Tony Den, Roger Waltham, who had that belief in me that I could run his provincial website for him. Moving on, the memories of working together with that little trio of the provincial DC, Lyndon Jones, Deputy Alan Kilburn, and myself. Oh, what a wonderful time. And of course, latterly, the absolute joy of enjoying the company and the support of people like Ray Vaness, Richard Seath, Terry Smith, and all the other guys who worked in the office. Not to mention, of course, not to forget to mention, of course, the recently mentioned members of the Education and Welfare Support Group.
Yeah, thank you, David. I can see that in your screen that you got there's a picture of Ray Vaness in the background.
Yeah.
So amongst others. Yeah, I mean, those names that you mentioned there are forgotten heroes, and it takes me back a few years. I mean, yeah, I mean they've all been very, very good and great characters, and but anyway, so we've heard about sort of your time as an assistant provincial Grand Master. So what are you going to be doing next? Are you going to be hanging up your boots and having more tea and biscuits, or are you going to be able to relax further, or have you got any plans?
Oh, what next? Who knows? There's one thing for certain, Richard, that it's my absolute wish not to get underfoot in any way, to allow others to move on and move things in the direction that they wish. If they need any help and support on the way, then I'm always more than happy to provide it. One of the great joys I've enjoyed in recent years is working with the Masonic Fishing Charity, and I have a great admiration also for the Cornwallis East Kent Freemasons Charity. Who knows, perhaps I may be able to assist in that particular area in the future. But one thing I can assure you of, whatever happens, I shall continue to enjoy my Freemasonry.
Brilliant. So, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to everybody, what do you think that would be?
Ooh, gosh, that is a challenge. Well, in the current circumstances, brethren and companions, hold the faith. Do all that you can to prepare your lodges and chapters for when we eventually reopen. Remember that Freemasonry is a hobby and is to be enjoyed. That it is essential that we have mutual respect and cooperation. And just in one final regard, and if I may, I'll read this, and that is to learn from the teachings of our ritual, bearing in mind that it is far more gratifying for those of a generous and benevolent mind to reign sovereign in the hearts and affections of men than to rule over their lives and fortunes. There we go.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. Now, you will recall, before lockdown, we were doing some we were doing some video training for interviewing in front of TV cameras should the need ever arise. Now, I know that you're going to have...
Don't you dare, Richard, wing it.
And the question was, which tripped everybody up, but I think it was a good little teaser, which was, and tell me, what does Freemasonry mean to you?
What is Freemasonry? I seem to recall.
Yes, and I seem to remember the response was, absolutely fantastic memories, but it's like fantastic learning opportunities. So David, we've had a quick sort of canter through your Masonic history and your time as an assistant provincial Grand Master. I'm sure that all the brethren will agree with me that you've been a fantastic boss, and we wish you all the well for the future. And we look forward to being able to take a little libation with you once we're able to meet again. So thank you, David, ever so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard, for allowing me to be part of this week's Blogg.
Take care.
And to share some of my memories.
Lovely, David. Thank you ever so much, and take care. That was David Alexander. What a fantastic guy. One of the best. Well, that's it, brethren, for this week. We hope that you've enjoyed it. And if you would like anything featured on this video blog, please get in contact with us at the following email address below.